And my nickname is Raul.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
Truly, it is.
Hey, Drive Tribe, Miggs here, and I'm with Paul Fanner.
Paul Fanner.
Paul Fanner, why does that name sound familiar? I swear I see you all over the place on Drive Tribe.
And in the post office on posters. So,
Like on milk cartons on posters or Most Wanted?
Most Wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Paul, tell us what you do.
Well, I publish magazines and websites and have a creative services agency that specializes in motorsport and performance cars. So, it's,
Any particular magazines we might know?
well, the one we publish the longest is Sports Car for the SCCA, which I'm very proud of, and Racer magazine, which we launched 27 years ago, and equally proud of that, and Racer.com, which was launched in 1997, early on in the internet age.
Racer Magazine. I said SCCA. See, I'm wearing my
That's awesome.
75-year
Yeah.
anniversary because actually Paul and I met for the first time at the convention in Las Vegas. Where were we again? What was the name of that club that we were hanging out at?
No, it was actually the Hall of Fame banquet, and we were the youngest people there. And
It
I was
was?
the youngest person the first year I went to.
Really?
Kidding you.
Imagine that.
No, it was great. It was a wonderful night. We had a lot of fun.
When was the first year that you went to the banquet?
First time I went to I think first time I went was like 73 or 4. I was a teenager. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so-
All right. That was the same time that I went my first time.
Really?
But I also have the lapel pin for this event. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see
that's
this.
awesome. The
I don't know if
50th
it's-
anniversary of IMSA.
That's right,
Lots of
so-
anniversaries this year.
Now, is not IMSA a what we call it, a child of the SCCA?
There's a lot of intertwined history, and John Bishop, who was one of the co-founders with IMSA along with Bill France, had been the executive director of SCCA. He'd also been the editor of Sports Car, which we share that distinction. He's an artist and illustrator, great guy. And when pro racing really hit a bump, he was running that in the late 60s. He left there was a bit of conflict. He left, and Bill France got together with him, and they started IMSA. And here we are 50 years later with something that's truly magnificent. This is, I love IMSA. I love what they do, and this is heaven this weekend.
It is. There's a lot going on, but it is cold, so you have to be moving a lot. Otherwise, bad things will happen. You'll be like at the end of The Shining in the middle of the maze, just freaking
Well, I
out.
think the best place to be is in a race car out there. It looks this is an absolutely amazing field of cars and drivers, and there's not an ugly, ill-prepared race car, and it is intense. It's like watching starfighters chasing each other through an asteroid belt. It's amazing.
I like that. I like that analogy. Let me ask you a question. Have you done any racing yourself?
Yes, I was. I like to think I was one of the top 10,000 Formula Ford drivers of the mid-1970s, and but just inside the top 10,000. But I raced Formula Ford, and I have no excuses. I had Mike Hull, who is the managing director of Target Ganassi Racing, and then now just Chip Ganassi Racing, one of the winningest teams at all forms of motorsport. He was my driving instructor, and often ran my cars, and if I would have been a little more talented, I probably would have been a racing driver.
But you got involved. You have the passion. That's what's important. Question for you: when you were racing, was it with the SCCA?
Oh, of course, yeah. I've been an SCCA member since probably '73,
Right.
and I grew up in the club. I love the SCCA. So many of the relationships that shaped me and gave me purpose came from the older SCCA members that nurtured me and encouraged me, and I've done everything from working in timing and scoring to helping in registration, which was my favorite job. I love meeting everybody that way, and publishing the club newsletter. Launched a magazine in the space called Formula with some friends that covered initially SCCA club racing, and then ultimately Formula One and everything else. But that's how I got started. SCCA was the beginning.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, well, I just recently joined the board of directors. So I'm a director at large in the Florida region, way down
That's
south,
awesome.
just before the
That's
Keys.
awesome.
So I'm going to ask you a couple. Yeah, it's a good group, right? Mostly volunteers, right? And it's a great place for networking.
And it's also the right kind of crazy. We're all crazy about cars, and it's like I never feel alone because you start a conversation and somebody's going to be on the same vibe you are, and you're going to be able to realize, okay, I'm not nuts for loving this. Yeah,
No, you're right. You're right. I agree. So I have a couple of signature questions, I guess, to ask you.
I'm ready.
So the first question is, what is your favorite car?
E24 M6.
Okay.
I just like that classic, mid 70s BMW. Yeah.
So you're driving that car around. What are you listening to?
Let's see, if I was driving that car around, it'd have a cassette deck in it.
Favorite song that would like match the whole scene?
That's a good question. I was a Bowie guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and wouldn't have a favorite song. I'd just be punching the tape, trying to find something, and I'd actually shut it off and listen to the motor.
That's interesting. There's a few people that either they tell me exactly the favorite song, or they're like the engine.
That's the music to me. I drive a Ford Explorer now, and it's that's the remnant of the dad phase I'm going through. I have a couple of teenage daughters, but I'm looking at having a car I can feel and drive again that's got a manual gearbox and kind of old school. But I love it. I love actually. It's therapy. Makes me happy. Makes me realize what I do has a reward.
Paul, I appreciate you spending time with me today and getting the word out to the rest of the members over there at Drive Tribe. Fellow Tribey, everybody, Paul Fanner, thank you so much again.
Chris, great to see you.
I am sure we're going to see you again at the next event.
Well, I might go to a few races each year, so yeah, it's my life.
He's everywhere. So I better get to know him soon, right?
Yeah.
Thanks again, Paul.
That's great.
Take care. That's awesome. Yeah.